Today's video was originally going to launch the closest thing to a review series on this channel, titled So I've Finally Played. You'll be seeing it in the future. The plan was to begin with Gears of War 4 and move on from there. However, a nagging issue kept cropping up to the point of delaying my progress of the game's campaign to infinity. For the record, Act 4 on Hardcore is as far as I've gotten. It's not because Gears of War 4 is a bad game. It isn't. It looks great, plays well, and doesn't take itself too seriously.
Come in! Why would you say that? Carrier!
The graphics are beautiful, multiplayer is a blast, and it's one of the most optimized games I've seen on the personal computer. Note to the industry, this is how you do it. Gears of War is popular, and with popularity comes criticism. The big three stacked against the series has been melodrama, brown and gray color palettes, and an overabundance of chest-high walls. Now, melodrama never stopped me from playing games before, and the brown and gray color palette has been greatly improved from the series' debut. So whatever my issue with Gears of War 4 is, must be connected to this final complaint. While it sort of is, after spending hours trying to identify my issue, it only spawned a legion of questions. You see, what's odd to me about Gears of War 4 is how its environments flip-flop between believable and artificial. I'd be throwing a grenade into a windstorm dynamically affecting its trajectory, about to slip into the mental bliss that is total immersion, only to have my character's back planted against cover so convenient you'd think that God himself placed it for JD and company. Snapping back and forth between immersion and an over-analytical inspector felt akin to the effect of Red Bull and vodka. Half my brain is thinking, I'm gonna sprint across while the enemy's distracted and butcher them like a pig. While at the same time, my other half is thinking, this wall was put here by a designer so I easily transfer to another wall that allows me to flank and eliminate the swarm. At every turn, the game goes to great lengths to immerse the player in its world. I adore its lack of heads-up display, something that seems increasingly rare in AAA games. But then I'd walk into a room and predict exactly where enemies spawn from due to the placement of cover, or exploit the game's revive system, as it's usually faster to suicide charge with a shotgun and wait to be revived in the aftermath than it is to pick them off from afar. The dichotomy is what made me ultimately give up on the campaign. Yet in multiplayer, lacking the narrative, pacing, or fading HUD of the campaign was more immersive to me.
Say what?
And after playing a multitude of games this past week, I think I know why. Gears of War has always appealed to me more from the multiplayer side than the campaign. It may degenerate into a sprint for the nearest power weapon at times, but when the game is at its best, its systems create a mixture of speed chess and chicken between you and the enemy. Both of you can clearly see each other's locations at all times, and hear them easily too, so it becomes a mind game as you bait the enemy into making them think they have the upper hand when they're playing into your trap. That dynamic just doesn't exist in the campaign. To give credit that's due, the AI in Gears does a decent job on hardcore of attempting to flank and put the pressure on you, but the levels and game design make it too easy to predict the AI's tactics. In multiplayer, the regenerating health only adds to its mental contest. Whoever makes a move, they need to fully commit, as they can't rely on the enemy being on low health later. Whereas in the campaign, it behaves like every other stop-and-pop shooter, where you just need to have enough patience to defeat the enemy by abusing your regenerating health behind unbreakable cover. The key here is that despite the multiplayer's bubbling weapon skins and zombie doms, it ultimately immerses through gameplay. When you're thinking about the enemy's actions and weighing them against your own strategies, you are in that moment. Whereas in the campaign, the systems don't stimulate the mind enough to immerse you in the game's world, and all of the deliberate attempts to accomplish immersion only end up making the experience more jarring to play through. I think it all came clear to me while I was playing through Doom on Nightmare for my previous video. That game is a reversal of Gears 4, where the campaign had me turning off the lights, closing my blinds, and cranking the headphones to rip and tear. Multiplayer usually has me and a few buddies on Discord talking about... Actually, I don't want to bring that up. On the surface, Doom's campaign is extremely artificial without a hint of simulation. Every arena is specifically designed to make for an interesting encounter, not to convince the player that this dimension of hell is a real, tangible place. There's no explanation of the power-ups or the ruins. And yet, Doom had me glued to the screen in a way that no campaign in 2016 accomplished. And that's due to immersion through gameplay. Your mind's never bored enough to be thinking, so just how kind are the demons to hand me quad damage? You don't have the time to raise that question without having your limbs torn off. Whereas in multiplayer, the lack of strategy with demon spawns, predictable combos, and wonky CQC make for an experience that's enjoyable background, but a complete bore when playing solo. Bottom line, Immersion isn't to be dazzled by astonishing visuals or a great performance, though it's usually nice to have. To be immersed in a game is for your mind to not be thinking of rent, taxes, laundry, or workplace drama. Immersion is when all you are thinking about are the actions of yourself and those around you, whether you're in a war, a cartoon, or hell itself. And that is a powerful thing.